This is the first video in my series on classical games from the 19th and early 20th century. The game was played in 1851 in a match between Adolf Anderssen and Mayet. Mayet was white and Anderssen was black. The game started with the royal pairs e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Here Anderssen chose the natural bishop c5. This has never really been black's most popular defence against the royal pairs, as white is well placed to take advantage of the exposed bishop on c5. White continued with the critical c3, intending to play d4, hitting the bishop on c5 while seizing the centre. Knight f6. This is black's main response, hitting the white e-pawn, developing a piece and preparing to castle. Bishop takes c6. This is just illogical. White gives up the bishop pair while helping black to develop his position more easily. d4 is clearly what white should have played when black is under a lot of pressure. Both theory and practice have definitely favoured white in this position. Anyway, in the game, white played bishop takes c6 and black responded d takes c6. This is the typical recapture in such situations. The bishop on c8 now comes into the game. Castles. Bishop g4. Both sides develop naturally. h3. White prompts black to declare his intentions regarding his bishop. h5. This is a typical idea taken from the exchange royal pairs, which this now resembles. Black hopes white will open the h-file by taking the piece. Instead, bishop h5 is a decent alternative, although it requires black to realise that white cannot simply win material. Now, g4 aims to win a pawn, but allows a strong response, suggested by Stockfish. Queen d3, g takes h5, g5, and black now crashes through on the king side. I don't want to get into analysing it further, however, as it is a bit too complicated for a short video. I would just note that it is not surprising that black did not consider this inhuman possibility. In any case, after h5, which is the move that was played in the game, white responded h takes g4. This is a bit risky, as white cannot hold on to the material, while the h-file is now open for black. d3 is more solid when white looks a bit better. Black's move h5 only really makes sense if white takes the piece, otherwise it is just a weakening. So, in response to h takes g4, black played h takes g4, and white now needs to be careful. Knight takes e5. This reckless move should lose. d4 is best. Black should then play knight takes e4 when white has to return the piece with something like g3 as greedy alternatives look back. For instance, d takes c5 is met by rook h1 check, deflecting the king into a fork. King takes h1, knight takes f2, and black wins the queen after king g1, knight takes d1, or rook takes f2, queen takes d1. We'll see several variations on this tactical sequence over the next few moves. Also, knight takes e5 is met by queen h4 and white cannot stop the mate on h1. After g3, g takes f3, queen takes f3, Stockfish recommends the interesting f5 with great complications. In any case, white played knight takes e5 in the game, and black is now winning, but he gets careless. g3. This is based on a flawed idea. Knight takes e4 is best, threatening queen h4 followed by queen h1 mate. Now white doesn't have a decent defence. g3 sees black break through with bishop takes f2 check, and the variations work out for him. Rook takes f2 is met by rook h1 check, king takes h1, knight takes f2 check, winning the queen. King g2 is met by rook h3, rook takes f2, rook takes g3 check, and now king h1 is met by knight takes f2 check, king h2, queen h4 mate, and king f1 is met by queen h4, and black's attack crashes through. Finally, queen takes g4 allows bishop takes f2 check, rook takes f2, rook h1 check, king takes h1, knight takes f2 check, king g1, knight takes g4, winning the queen. Anyway, black chose g3 and play continued. d4, knight takes e4, queen g4. This is a definite error, walking into a combination. F takes g3 was necessary, when white is in fact winning, as black's attack depends on the pawn on g3. Knight takes g3 does not seem to go anywhere after rook e1, rook h1 check, king f2, and now queen h4 looks scary, but white can defend. Knight f3 check, knight e4 check, king e2, and black runs out of threats, leaving white a piece up. After queen g4, black chose bishop takes d4. Black may have been hoping for the game continuation with a quick mate, rather than going for a clearly winning position. Black could have executed his main idea at once with g takes f2 check, rook takes f2, rook h1 check, king takes h1, knight takes f2 check, king g1, knight takes g4, winning the queen. However, the game continuation is also simply winning. In response to bishop takes d4, white chose queen takes e4. This allows black to force mate in short order. C takes d4 avoids mate, but allows black to realise his main idea. G takes f2 check, rook takes f2, rook h1 check, king takes h1, knight takes f2 check, king g1, knight takes g4, winning the queen. After queen takes e4, black played bishop takes f2 check, and white resigned here, as it is mate in 4. Rook takes f2, queen d1 check, queen e1, queen takes e1 check, rook f1, rook h1 check. Here the deflection is to force mate. King takes h1, queen takes f1, mate.